I'm at Burton Waters, a 15-acre unique marina development just 2 miles from the city of Lincoln. My name's Jill Harvey, and today I'll be presenting session 5 of 5 on business diversification in the visitor economy sector. In this session, we're going to be looking at conglomerate diversification. I'll give you some examples to show you what it is, and we'll look at the pros and the cons of conglomerate diversification. So conglomerate diversification focuses on adding new products or services that are totally unrelated to the existing product or service. But it's best suited to businesses with a strong brand identity already, and it usually occurs when a business has hit a ceiling. There's nowhere else for them to go. They may be leaders in their market and they can't grow any further. Now, the options for conglomerate diversification, generally speaking, are to acquire a business that already has the capabilities but perhaps isn't maximising them and that can benefit from the strength of the brand, or develop the business from scratch. It might be that there's nothing out there that will actually deliver the product or service in the way you think it should, and you deliver it from scratch. So what are the benefits? Well, increased profit potential to start with. If you've reached a ceiling in your existing business, you've got nowhere else to go to get additional profit. It can expand your business reach. It can mean that you can link businesses up so that they can support each other. It can take you into different global markets. It gives you the ability to attract new customer base. And it might be that one customer who's used to your brand will suddenly think, okay, I like this brand. I'll try this product or service from them because I trust them. And therefore it strengthens the overall brand. But it's expensive and it's risky. So unless you have a high appetite for risk, this might not be the diversification strategy for you. So let's take a look at some examples. These are well-known examples, but we can take Disney. Known initially for films, and that's all they were known for, was creating great films, animation and films. And we can look now at what Disney has around the world. We have theme parks. And yes, there are links. We have characters from the animated films in the theme parks, but they are totally different businesses, totally different skill sets, potentially even totally different audiences. We can look at BrewDog, really famous for beer production. Well, before the pandemic, they expanded that into bars and even hotels. Now, that sort of got put on hold a little bit because of the pandemic and the lack of customer, now the lack of skilled people to work in that sector. But that's still an ambition of BrewDog. They're great, they've got a great brand, and they've taken that into a different sector altogether. Perhaps one of the most famous brands is Virgin. What haven't Virgin tried to do? What market haven't they tried to enter? But you know, they started off in the music industry. So we had Virgin Records, we've got Virgin Atlantic. You couldn't get further apart. And actually, Richard Branson pretty much started Virgin Atlantic from scratch because he was fed up with what existing airlines were offering. He wanted to do something different. So yes, he took the skills from other places, but he started it from scratch. But it doesn't just have to be about the big boys. Here in Lincolnshire, we've got some great examples of businesses that have diversified and completely different offering. For example, we've got farms that have been arable or livestock farms that have had so much land that they've now gone into offering park homes, theme parks, fishing lakes, golf courses. So there are lots of areas where if you have the facilities and the space and you think about it, you can actually completely diversify your business. You have 2 different income streams. And we've got an exciting example of this here in Lincolnshire with Stokes Tea and Coffee. They have 120 years of history as tea blenders and coffee roasters and selling tea and coffee and food to customers in Lincoln. But they didn't just stop there. They've diversified across multiple areas. They've developed a wholesale business selling their tea and coffees to other cafes and hospitality businesses. They've opened additional cafes, including at their new premises at the Lawn. When they moved to their new premises, they then added more new products and services to their portfolio. They set up a barista school, not just for the hospitality sector, but also for consumer customers. And as a landlord, their new premises now has more space than they needed for their business. So they now rent that out. And during the pandemic, they delivered virtual coffee tastings, and it was so successful that it's a product that has endured as part of their training portfolio. So you see, it isn't just the big global brands that you can hear. We have this here in Lincolnshire as a great example of how your business can diversify if you focus on one thing first, do what you're good at, and then expand. So what are the advantages in conglomerate diversification? Why would a business do this? Well, to start with, it creates a completely independent revenue stream. And we've seen over the last few years how trends are changing. Things that we always thought would be the norm and people would want to continue to do forever, they're actually changing what they want now. Farms, for example, are no longer ultimately profitable to hand down from generation to generation. So how can they keep that going? How can they keep a legacy whilst having another revenue stream? It creates new interest in the brand. You'd be surprised how much new interest happens in, for example, if we look at Virgin Records, when Virgin Atlantic is doing a promotion. The name Virgin will go around all of the brands, so it creates new interest. It attracts new audiences to the brand. It keeps new audiences coming in, and it's harder to get new customers than it is to retain customers. So this is a great way for you to bring in new customers to your brand. There is a flip side though. It can confuse customers. I don't know if you remember when Virgin did want to go into cola. Everyone was a little bit bemused. Why would you do that when there are two such big brand players in the market? So it can be a bit confusing, can be costly, and that could impact the existing brand. In Virgin's case, it's such a strong brand that it managed to survive that. But you need to think really carefully about an area that you're going to move into. How is it going to impact your current customers, and is the cost going to impact your existing brand? So we've talked about the 4 different types of diversification. The one thing that's really important to note is that you don't have to just stay with one of these areas. You can diversify horizontally and vertically, or any combination of the 4. Just make sure that whichever area you move into, you give it a good trial. So try this out, see what you can do it within 6 weeks and minimal financial investments. And if it doesn't work, cut your losses and try again. Do your research. That's really important. That will help you to make sure you're moving into the right area and your strengths, really. So that's the end of the series on business diversification. I hope you found the series interesting and useful.